All right, let's get right into this. I know it's about that time where I have to do another video. But I said I would do two a week. So today's video I wanted to do on universality and class systems. Obviously, referring to what I know within my knowledge, within my life, as well as maybe some textbook stuff. So I'm gonna start with class systems. Um, Class systems have existed pretty much everywhere. I believe ancient Egypt had class systems. Pharaoh was at the top, or Pharaoh's class was at the top. The slaves were at the bottom, and then they had numerous different classes between them. This happens in many different countries. It happens in China. It happens in Europe as well. It happens in Saudi Arabia. These rich Gulf Arab states, they still have a monarchy till today. So they have a royal family, which is at the top, which is of the highest class system. Class systems are almost I'd say typically class systems are born into. India has a class system. In India, they have their higher classes and lower classes, and it's based on birthright. So if you're just, it's not like, what it's trying to say is that when you're born, you have a quality, and you may have a class system. Another way to look at, and I don't want to get too much into class systems, but another way to look at it is pretty much like survival of the fittest. Who's on the top of the food chain. And that's a big deal. In the ocean, who's at the top of the food chain? Who's at the top? Who's eating the most, the best stuff, the top predator? In the ocean, there is no denying that sharks are number one in the ocean. Some people say that in Africa, in the kind of like in the jungles, and the Pride Land, the king is the king of the jungle, also nicknamed the king of the jungle, which is the lion. You have king of the skies. So you have your typical, anyways, we have all sorts of ways to do this. But like I said, class systems are born into, right? So you're just born into a family, and your family is at a very high class. Till today, I mean, people still believe in that. They're, and every place is different. I don't think I want to spend too much time describing class systems and describing the whole survival of the fittest stuff. What I want to go into next is kind of like the different types of worlds we have within our world, and almost compare them. And I want to start with this idea of internationalism, international cities, international countries, and then countries that are not international, or cities that are not international. I can tell you, in my opinion, Saudi Arabia is not international by any means whatsoever. The country is extremely rich. They have a lot of oil. They've had oil for a long time now. They're still pumping oil. They have gold faucets and gold toilets in their washroom. That's how rich they are. America is another place that is not an international place. Quite on the contrary to popular belief, because people really believe that, some people, they really believe that New York, Miami, and LA are real international cities. It's not true whatsoever. They are not. Nowhere in America do you have an international city or an international country. America is the wild, wild west. I've lived there. I've been there. I know it. America has started as a wild, wild west. It's still the wild, wild west. Okay. America took a decision hundreds and hundreds of years ago to overthrow their British government and to establish this new country. One of their amendments does say that every American has a right to bear arms, and that if the government ever wrongs the people, they can take arms up against the government and make things right. America, I always describe it with this phrase, dog eat dog. It is a dog eat dog place. Everybody's big, okay? Everybody's big, everybody's strong. It's very competitive. It's highly competitive. Your bottom is very, very deep in the bottom, okay? Their bottom is really bad. I mean, it looks like a war zone. Like the places where they have the areas where they have their bottom people, it looks like war zones. And in the areas where they have their top, it looks like, I mean, just I can't even explain it or describe it into words. It is so ridiculously grand, large, exquisite. There's just nothing like it. I mean, if you drive around some areas in the United States, you are in shock of how high their ceiling is. And when you drive around the bad areas, you realize how low their floor is. Um, what else can I say? Yeah, the Wild Wild West. That was when people literally dueled. So if I was a cowboy and I had an issue with another cowboy, I would say I challenge you to a duel. People, there'd be maybe 10 people watching on each side. They did have a call to start. 3, 2, 1, go, and we'd pull out guns and see who shot who first and who killed who first. That was the Wild Wild West, and that is still the law till today. And believe me, that there are a lot of there are countries like that in the world. Saudi Arabia, it doesn't really have an international presence. Internationally, the international world doesn't tell Saudi Arabia what to do. They don't tell America what to do, and the international world doesn't come into America. They don't go into Saudi Arabia. But and here's a big deal. They don't have much, they have very little say in the international world. The international world is like the world system. Okay, Canada is an international country. Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, these are international cities. London is an international city. Paris is an international city. Okay, I think Berlin is an international city. Amsterdam is definitely an international city. Bangkok is an international city. Hong Kong is it? Well, I don't know about Hong Kong. Okay, I don't have enough knowledge to say that. Dubai is an international city. International cities, they have all these foreign elements and these international elements, and almost like a community just sporadically around the world. And when you make one decision in one city, it makes a decision in all the cities. So they will include even your worst countries, like your third world countries. So no matter how bad that country is, no matter how poor it is, no matter how much crime, whatever the case is, they may have a say in the international world. And the sad reality today is that despite how powerful and how much money America and Saudi Arabia have, that sometimes countries like as small and as unrecognized and as poor as, let's say, Uganda, and some people argue Uganda is very rich in Africa. I don't know. I'm throwing it out there, okay? I mean. So some people say that places like that actually have more say in international cities like Dubai and international places like England and France than Saudi Arabia and Canada. Okay, all these smaller and poorer international countries and cities actually have more influence in these places than Saudi Arabia and America. Now, at the same time, and I've said this before, a country like Afghanistan has no say in the international world. And reason being is that, I don't know what the reason is. Maybe they just reject them or they don't like them because they don't think and do everything that they want them to. I guess it's easier to kind of have a bunch of third world countries with influence, because it's just easier to manage, and I guess it's safer for them. It's less risk for them. At the same time, England is a rich country, France is a rich country, Germany is a rich country. They're in Europe, and Canada is a rich country. I also, contrary to popular belief, I don't believe Australia is international either. I don't believe the country of Australia is international either. Well, what does this mean? Again, I explained it with America. I explained it with Saudi Arabia. Everything they say goes. It's a very competitive place. It's live or die, survival of the fittest, wild, wild west. But at the end of the day, it's just it's like different worlds. I'm not talking about I made it clear. So, making that clear, is there anything else that I want to say? Yes. How about this? So, okay, I got 5 minutes, and I usually do this. At the end of my video, I referred back to me and my life. I can tell you certain things. I can tell you, when it comes to locality, every place is different. And I'm not trying to speak for others. For me, I've lived in America and I know the dog eat dog world, and I'm actually well versed on it. My style, I would say, is understanding, or I know what the American system is like. I know how they behave and how they act. Not only that, but I understand how to behave and act like the American within the American system. A lot of it is very, if you're someone who likes challenges, if you like competing, if you like taking risks, if you're not scared, if you can go forward, if you're a tough guy, if you're a strong guy, if you're a shark, that environment is actually very easy to kind of live in. Now, at the same time, because the world is moving forward, and because on the global scale, international countries at the end of the day, and this international element has more say than these rich and powerful countries that are not international. They have way more say. It's very difficult to make a country or city international. New York can try its hardest. I don't think they'll ever get there. I don't think anywhere in America will ever get to being an internationally recognized international city. It's just hard. Just the way the laws of the world are, it's very hard to do. So places that are naturally international, like Great Britain and France, and other countries, Amsterdam, these places are just naturally very easily adapted and moving along this international zone. And that's a big thing. Now, what else would I want to say regarding me and all that? Class systems. Now, class system is funny because you could be bored, right? And you could be even high on that class scale, but you have to constantly be in some kind of community in order to maintain that. Versus, let's say, I was born and I was high on the class scale naturally because of my birth, but I was misplaced. Maybe I was in a totally different place with totally different people around me. And let's say they were even lower on the class system. Now, for me, for being the type of person who has to build himself up and has to do for himself, has to be independent. For me, if I may be born like a higher class system, but being born into the world, I may start from the bottom, which means the only one who's gonna bring me up is me. I'll tell you a really funny thing. When I was very young, I think I was 17, and a thought came into my mind. I was walking outside, and I never forgot this thought ever. I said in my head, if I can hit rock bottom, imagine how high I can go, as in feasibility. So if in my life, rather than be stable and in the middle and comfortable, if I could hit rock bottom, if it was possible for me to hit rock bottom, imagine how high it could go. And again, that is American mentality. I've lived in Buffalo, New York. I've lived in New York State. I've lived in California. I've lived in other places in America. And I can tell you that is their mentality. Like, dude, if this bottom is a reality, like I'm gonna lose everything and have a very difficult life at the bottom, at this rock bottom. But imagine how it allows my mind to be like, granted that I have the capability, but it takes me out of that comfort zone and goes, man, I'm gonna try to shoot for the top. So for me, it's kind of like I'm more self-built. So I may have been born with a birthright that was higher, but because I'm kind of self-made with that mentality, I had to bring myself higher, and that's what I did. And another thing that I like to say is I may not have access to millions of dollars, but out there in the real world, there is really no difference. Out there anywhere in the real world, there is no difference between me and someone who's very rich. Somebody who's very rich, the very upper class, the class that has influence and say, the class that has a lot of money, there's no difference between me and them. I may not have access to millions of dollars to use or whatnot, right? And that could be a problem with the world. The world might have screwed me up to put me in that position. But at the end of the day, I'm out there. I am just as rich, considered to be just as rich as some of the richest people within cities, like the richer class. I would be considered to be pretty much just as rich as them. Which means they don't really have any higher right than me. And you know what? I am liking this video. So I thought 15 minutes would be enough, but I'm liking this video so much that guess what? I'm gonna do a part 2.